1963. A woman in Osaka weighed 106 pounds the morning she got married. She weighed 106 pounds 32 years later. She never counted a single calorie. She never set foot in a gymnasium. She followed 9 habits that every woman in post-war Japan simply lived by, not because someone told her to, but because the world she moved through made getting fat almost impossible. Japan has the lowest obesity rate of any developed nation, 4.5%. The United States sits above 40%. These two women both eat, they both age, they both work. The difference is not genetics. The difference is 9 conditions the Japanese woman never stopped living inside. Conditions that the modern diet industry hopes you never discover. In the 9th place, the morning begins not with a rush to the kitchen, but with a simple ritual, a glass of warm water taken before the first bite of food. This habit, quietly recommended across generations, sets a tone of restraint before appetite ever awakens. In Japanese households, the kettle or thermos waits by the bedside, and the first act of the day is to drink slowly, in small cups, warming the body from within. Studies suggest that this gentle rise in core temperature may nudge the resting metabolism upward by a few percent, a modest thermogenic effect that lingers for the next hour. More important, perhaps, is the sense of satiety that follows. Hydration in the early morning dulls the false signals of hunger, so breakfast arrives as a choice, not a compulsion. In much of the West, mornings default to cold drinks, coffee, or even skipped hydration, chasing alertness, but rarely pausing for balance. In Japan, the habit is not a medical command, but a quiet tradition, one that frames the day with intention, before willpower is ever needed. 8th place, walking is not a fitness regime, but the silent engine of Japanese daily life. In cities like Osaka and Kyoto, the architecture itself encourages movement. Narrow streets, covered arcades, and a patchwork of small shops all within reach by foot. Public transit is not a fallback, but a thread woven into the fabric of each neighborhood, making cars unnecessary for most errands. The result is visible in the numbers. Japanese adults average between 7,200 and 9,055 steps per day, a figure that quietly surpasses the American average of 5,117. That difference, about 2,000 extra steps, translates to roughly 100 additional calories burned each day, or nearly 10 pounds of fat over a year, if eating habits remain unchanged. It's not discipline that sets this pattern, but a city designed for walking, where every commute, errand, and market trip becomes a modest act of movement. In this way, the energy spent is cumulative and unremarkable, built into the ordinary rhythm of living. Number 7, the slow rhythm of chopstick eating creates a subtle barrier to overconsumption, one that relies on mechanics, not motivation. In Japanese households, meals unfold with hashi, short chopsticks that naturally extend the act of eating. Each bite requires intention, a pause, a careful transfer from bowl to mouth. The presence of the hashioki, the small ceramic rest, signals a moment to set the chopsticks down, to breathe, to let the taste linger. This enforced pause is more than etiquette. It aligns perfectly with the body's own delay in registering fullness. Satiety signals take about 20 minutes to reach the brain. Japanese meals, averaging 20 to 30 minutes, give that process time to work. By contrast, the hurried pace of an American meal, often finished in 11 minutes, leaves little space for fullness to catch up. Studies show that slower eating can reduce calorie intake by 10%, not through discipline, but through the quiet architecture of the meal itself. Number 6, the table draws a line between eating and everything else. In Japanese homes, food is rarely touched unless one is seated, eyes on the meal, hands at rest. The act of eating while walking, standing, or multitasking is quietly discouraged, a rule learned in childhood and rarely questioned. On city streets, commuters pause at benches or gather at counters, never drifting with food in hand. Meals are not wedged between errands or consumed in the background of a screen. Instead, attention is reserved for the plate, the chopsticks, the gentle rituals of the meal itself. Research on distraction confirms what etiquette has long protected. Eating in motion or amid divided focus weakens the body's ability to register fullness. Laboratory studies show that a distracted eater may consume up to 12% more, missing the subtle signals that say enough. The table then is not just furniture, it is a boundary that protects satiety, anchoring appetite in the present moment and making overeating less likely before willpower is ever tested. Number 5, the refrigerator in a Japanese apartment rarely exceeds 200 liters, about half the size of a typical Western model. This constraint is not a matter of preference but of architecture, a legacy of postwar housing codes that carved kitchens into narrow corners and left little room for excess. With such limited storage, the idea of stocking up on bulk snacks or frozen dinners becomes unworkable. Instead, the daily or twice-weekly visit to the market becomes routine, each trip yielding only what can be consumed while still fresh. The result is an environment where impulse foods and oversized portions simply have nowhere to hide. The fridge itself acts as a silent gatekeeper, quietly enforcing moderation without a word. No special resolve is needed. The system handles the discipline. In a world where the Western diet industry dismantled these guardrails and then sold them back as products, the Japanese woman simply continued living within boundaries set by design, not by will. Number 4, the calendar quietly governs what enters the Japanese kitchen through the practice of shun, eating ingredients at their seasonal peak. In the 1960s, the weekly menu was not a fixed rotation, but a living document, shaped by whatever the market stalls offered that morning. Housewives built meals around spring bamboo shoots, summer eggplant, or winter daikon, trusting the rhythm of the harvest more than the cravings of the moment. Unlike the Western supermarket, where strawberries and tomatoes are stacked high in every season, Japanese markets let the calendar narrow the field of choice. This subtle restriction does more than preserve tradition. It channels appetite toward foods that are most flavorful and nutrient-dense at their peak. Laboratory analyses confirm that in-season vegetables can carry up to 30% more vitamins and phytonutrients than their out-of-season counterparts. In this system, the act of shopping becomes a negotiation with nature's pace, not a battle with self-control, and the cycle of abundance and absence quietly shapes both desire and satiety. Number 3, green tea slips into the Japanese day not as a health kick, but as the quiet default, served with breakfast, lunch, or a pause in the afternoon. In most households, 2 or 3 cups mark the rhythm of daily life, each one adding almost no calories at all. The science behind this ritual is modest but persistent. Green tea's EGCG catechin nudges fat oxidation and resting metabolic rate upward by a few percent, an effect measured in controlled trials but never sold as a miracle. The real impact, though, is substitution. In Japan, tea is simply what's poured, not a treat or a dessert. Contrast that with the Western habit of a daily coffee shop order, lattes and frappuccinos that can deliver 190 to 450 calories in a single cup. Over a year, that difference quietly accumulates. In the Japanese kitchen, green tea is not a project. It is the background, the default, quietly shaping the boundaries of appetite without ever demanding attention. In second place, the absence of snacking weaves a quiet order through the Japanese day. For much of the post-war era, the rhythm of eating in Japan was measured by the clock, 3 meals, each with its place, and little thought given to what might be eaten in between. The home kitchen rarely stocked packaged treats, and the expectation, spoken or not, was that the stomach would wait until the next meal. This discipline was not born of self-denial, but of a system that made grazing inconvenient and at times socially awkward. The shift began in the 1970s and 80s, as Western confectionery and snack foods crept into supermarkets, their bright packaging and advertising promising quick energy and fun. Shelves filled with Kit Kats and potato chips, and the idea of eating for pleasure outside mealtime slowly took hold. Yet the old habit lingers. Epidemiological studies trace a direct line between the rise of between-meal snacking and increased daily calorie intake, a pattern mirrored in the growing waistlines of societies where the snack aisle dominates. In Japan, the structure of the day itself still acts as a quiet guardrail, making overeating less a matter of willpower and more a question of what the environment allows. And finally, in first place, the evening walk known as sanpo draws the day to a close with a gesture so ordinary it almost escapes notice. After dinner, families slip on shoes and step outside for 10 or 15 minutes, tracing quiet neighborhood streets or circling the local park. This is not exercise in the Western sense. There are no step counters, no athletic wear, no talk of burning calories. The old phrase is that it settles the stomach, a gentle act of care rather than a regimen. Yet the science is striking. A brief post-meal walk can reduce glucose spikes by up to 30%, smoothing the body's response to the evening meal and improving blood sugar control well into the night. In clinical trials, this simple habit has shown more direct metabolic benefit than any other ritual in the daily cycle. The energy cost is modest, 30 or 40 calories spent, but the effect on appetite and fat storage is far greater. Here, the body is guided not by willpower, but by the quiet choreography of inherited routine. In a world where the end of a meal often signals the start of temptation, Sampo is the last, most enduring guardrail. The walk is not a project. It is the closing note of a day lived within boundaries, where health remains a consequence of the world one inhabits, not a battle to be fought alone. Across all 9 habits, one quiet pattern emerges. Weight is not merely a personal struggle, but the sum of invisible systems, defaults built into daily life. In Japan, slenderness is less a choice than a consequence of inherited design. Sometimes the body simply adapts to the world it inhabits. Subscribe for more.